Welcome back to Lenz Comic Corner, Classic Lesson Known Classics. This is episode number 3349, double shot number 3242. Yep. So, basically, for this Comic Corner, we're discussing a Hercules trade and an X-Men trade. Yep, another Hercules trade. Yep. And it's a trade where it basically collects stuff written and drawn by the awesome Bob Layton. This being Hercules Full Circle. Yeah, unlike the previous trade, which collected the first two volumes for Hercules, this one in particular, this is what it collects. So, okay, this collects a story from Marvel Tales. This is part of the backup story. Marvel Tales 197. Marvel graphic novel 37. It's the Full Circle one shot. Basically the Hercules feature from Marvel Comics Presents issues 37 to 41 and Marvel Age 4 and 65. You're like, wow, kind of not a lot here, but that's basically how it is here. So yeah, most of it we have Hercules in 24th century, where he's basically like, or basically there's this big woman just, of course Hercules is not exactly down his luck. Of course he fights people off here. Also in these stories you discover he has a son and a granddaughter. His granddaughter is a Silver Surfer in this universe. So, and talking about turns out she is just a scroll. Yep. And yeah. And then we lead into the Marvel graphic novel number 37, which is Hercules Prince of Power. Yep. Full Circle, which is also the name of the trade itself. You're like, really? Oh yeah, really. You're like, interesting. Yeah, I've not read a lot of the Marvel graphic novels per se. Yeah. So, mostly put, it's like the shorts before. That was from Marvel Tales 187, which set up this very one-shot. Oh, and from our graphic novel, this is number 37. I've only read Marvel graphic novel. You should ever read number graphic number 1, 4, 5, 7, 7 to 18, 22, 27, 29, 38, 40, 41, 46, 40 and 51, 61, 60 68, 74, 72, and 74, 75. Yeah, that's all I've reviewed so far. So, of course, still written and drawn by Bob Layton. Oh, and as for the Hercules stuff here, this is from... Yeah, so basically I'm going to have to make some alterations here, which shouldn't be too difficult to do. No, I'll handle it later, but not at the moment. No, not at the moment. So, as for the Full Circle one-shot, this is basically what we're leading into. This big one-shot here. We have basically a person on trial. And it turns out basically we have somebody who looks like he's wearing the Avengers symbol for some reason. The one they had back in the 80s. We have an alien put on trial. We have South Mount Olympus. Hercules, where he's back in his Jack Kirby garb with a slight different color scheme. But yeah, he's back with a Virgilian. It's basically this particular one shot itself does debut a bunch of new characters here. Of course, Hercules gets to fight with his father Zeus. Now you're probably thinking, would this be in the future? Is there appearance here by Thor? Nope, no appearance by Thor. Which is interesting given basically stuff relates to the character. So we have the first appearance of Emperor Artemius. Who is this guy? He's Hercules' son. Yep, and he has kids too, who don't appear in this one shot here. He has like 2 sons and a daughter, who, like I said, do not appear in this one shot. Yeah, and there's also like a character known as Emperor Mother, who was a character from the previous Hercules book. Yeah, and this would be, sadly put, this is her first appearance since when she appeared in this one shot. She previously appeared in Hercules #2, and then she appeared in this one shot, and then she appeared in 2 stories for Marvel Presents, and then she appeared in one issue miniseries. Yeah, not much of this character at all. You could say basically this is, well, in a way, the big story that the 2 miniseries led to. Which is basically Hercules. He fights Galactus, obviously, in this one shot. He's there with the original recorder. Yeah, him fighting Galactus is interesting. And, like I said, there is no Thor in this timeline. Well, no Thor in the future, that is. I don't think so, no. I know Galactus is here, yes, but what about Thor? There is appearance here by Tony Stark. Yeah, he appeared in the previous miniseries. I think he's supposed to be dead. Yes. Okay, so Thor does appear here, but he does appear till another miniseries. Yeah, one of Hercules' brothers has been in the first issue of the miniseries, the previous volume, and then basically, so, yeah. Yeah, and the Marvel graphic novel, I said, no, normally put Marvel Tales. The opening story was completely like a reprint, but the backup story is not. Occasionally they would do this for Marvel Presents, because it's Marvel Tales, where either it's mostly a reprint series, occasionally had original stories as backups, but not all the time. And I gotta say, Layton does an excellent job. There's a lot of really good work here. Like, there's an appearance here by apparently this was version of a Death Star, and I think this was during the period of time Marvel did have license to publish Star Wars, so there's that. So he basically fights the Emperor Mother. Yeah. And this one shot is a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, it is so fun, this one shot. And Layton himself outdoes himself. This is excellent. I just recommend it. It's big sci-fi epic, basically, for this one. My guess is maybe he wanted to do a miniseries, or maybe I think Marvel must have wanted him to miniseries, so he probably didn't have time, so he did this big one-shot. Which, since it was published in Marvel graphic novel, was fine, because Marvel graphic novels probably did sell pretty well. So yeah, ends up a nice little bow, and then basically it's like in future cycle for now, and then right afterwards we have Hercules, Prince of Power in, well, now you're probably thinking, does Bob Layton do these Hercules one-shots here? Yes, he does. Yep, he comes back. Now, these issues were released in 1989, while the Full Circle one-shot was released a year earlier, and he's back here for these 3 stories here. Mostly put is just a short feature follow-up, where it has Hercules take on the Assassin's Guild for 3 issues. You're like, okay. Yeah, where the Emperor Mother, basically, who was a villain from the previous book, Lena Sweetwater. Yeah, she's back. She really wants revenge against Hercules, so brings basically Assassin's Guild, this version anyways, who only appear for the first 2 stories, and then you're probably thinking, did they appear in the final story for this one? No, they're pretty much taken out by the second story here. As for the last one, issue 41, basically just has Hercules taking Lena Sweetwater, and this appearance here would be her last appearance for, I kid you not, for 21 years. Yep. Yeah. They would have a follow-up with this story in Hercules Twilight of a God. Yep. They would have follow-up with here in this miniseries. I mean, I kind of get the reason why they call it Twilight of a God, because if they look, because here's the thing, Marvel readers were not stupid to a point where, like, oh, Hercules stuff, wait, this is not this, because I think because the internet was very much well known at that point, so they had to call that, because they probably want to associate with the other book published for Hercules at that point. That's probably. But overall, the stuff in here is fantastic. And can you believe this is like all that was published? Like, that you had this basically this premiere edition for Hercules. And this is all literally it's in here. Just basically just basically a backup story. For those who are curious with the Marvel Age one-shot stories in here, which is published before then, it is basically just behind the scenes, basically, of how they got this stuff. But that's kind of all it is here. But what ranking would I give this particular trade? I give it a 10 out of 10 because it was really good. Yep. And next up we have is an X-Men trade here. We have X-Men, the animated series, The Further Adventures. This one's kind of weird. What's collected here is kind of weird. We have Avengers of the X-Men. All 12 issues. Adventures of Spider-Man issue 3. Material from Spider-Man Magazine 1 through 13 and Spider-Man Special 1 through 2. You're like, huh? You're probably thinking like, why is there an issue of Adventures of Spider-Man? Well, there's a reason why. So, Avengers of the X comes after the third volume, X-Men Adventures. And, mostly put, it is just, like, the first issue is basically feature appearance by X-Factor. Mostly put, bringing one from the show, and has basic appearance by the Hulk in the opening issue. In issue, well, by the way, in case you're curious still, like, how much does the Hulk appear in this comic book? Well, he appears in the first 2 issues, and he returns in the Marvel Avengers book. Yep, and after 2 appearances, also do with Sabretooth. Issue 3 deals with Mr. Sinister, and this involves a crossover with Spider-Man. Yeah, unlike the show, this feels like a follow-up to their previous crossover they had. Yes. Yeah. And then, right after this crossover, they basically deal with Dweller in Darkness, an old Thor villain. Yeah, he basically appears in issue 3. And then he returns for issues 11 and 12. So like, okay, a Thor villain. In issue number 5 is basically going to war with mostly of the original Brotherhood of Immunes and have a guest appearance by Nick Fury. And has Magneto versus Apocalypse for the next few issues. Next 2 issues. And of course, then Sabretooth comes back in issue number 7. Issue 8, sadly put, they kill off Gambit's father. Yeah, this timeline, this continuity's version of Gambit's father, he gets killed off. Basically, just... Yeah, and for some reason, despite the fact that this features Gambit's father, Gambit is in the story, but basically, they're following... Jubilee and Storm following him. And then we have appearance but dealing with the Sentinels and Hellfire Club in issue number 9. We also deal with this universe version of the Vanisher. Yes, the Vanisher. And we also deal with Mojo here as well, because of course we do. And then we have a guest appearance in issue number 11 by this universe version of Man-Thing, who debuts issue 11 and gets killed off in issue 12. Which also they kill off Leandra in the last issue of this book. Not sure why. I guess because, hey, it's a final issue of the book, so just do that for some reason. And you're thinking, like, okay, what about the other books, like Spider-Man Magazine? It's not that one. I think it's I think it's the UK version. No, not this one. Here we go. Okay. So it mostly just contains the X-Men backup feature in this book, which, if you're curious, like, how long was it published after Avengers the X-Men ended? Avengers X-Men ended in 97. This was published basically around the same time as that. We have X-Men in the Danger Room with this one, because basically for this book here, it's just various stories featuring the X-Men in this continuity. That's mostly what this is. Yeah, and they also contain some Iron Man stuff here for some reason. Yes. It's basically stories: X-Men Training, Bridging the Gap, Facing Danger, Room for Improvement, Eye for an Eye. Two-parter for that one. Dear Mom and Dad, Game Plan, Bizarre. Yeah, they include the magazine special. Magazine special, they included like 2 stories. Well, for issue 1, they just included the opening story. All special 2, they pretty much included the whole thing. This one included an Iron Man story and a Fantastic Four story. They probably included these in here because they're comics that feature the X-Men, so why not? And plus, stories themselves are not very long. Yes, and combined, this trade was like about 450 pages. But got a lot of story here for X-Men. Pretty good book overall. I give the book roughly 10 out of 10. I kind of wish basically that they would have on this app the other trades to collect issues from X-Men Adventures. Yes. Now, in the case of the X-Men Adventures, like first volume per se, like basically for some weird reason, I'm not sure why, they decided to have that first trade collect just the opening 8 issues. Don't know why, but that's kind of what they did. Yes. Collect the first 8 out of 15 issues. Yeah, first 8 out of 15. Just, it's baffling. Now, I get the reason why they publish this. They did the same thing with Spider-Man at the time, and of course Batman had this too, where the comics are loosely based on the continuity, but this comics in particular have been confirmed to not take place in continuity. It's an alternate version of the popular continuity for X-Men 92. I mainly checked it out purely because basically it's the X-Men. I would not turn on an X-Men book, good or bad. Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up, Super Sentai. See you next video. Bye.